We're now to a vote in the U.S. state of Texas with consequences that could reach from coast to coast. Texas Republicans have voted to approve new congressional maps, lines drawn in a way that could give Republicans as many as 5 new seats in the U.S. House of Representatives. Now, the redrawing of districts is often controversial in America. This time, it could change the balance of power in Washington.
With a swing of the gavel, Texas Republicans have likely secured themselves 5 more districts.
The following announcement.
Democratic lawmakers had staged a 2-week walkout to delay the vote, but in the end, the Republican majority won out. Pending the approval of Texas's Republican Senate and governor, the state will have a new congressional district map going into next year's midterm elections. Republicans say they're playing by the rules, but Democrats are calling it an attack on democracy.
Floor today with this call of the House.
Let me be clear. This is Donald Trump's map. It is clearly and deliberately manufactures 5 more Republican seats in Congress because Trump himself knows the voters are rejecting his agenda. And instead of respecting that rejection, he's changing the rules. Instead of listening to the people, he's trying to silence them. And Texas Republicans have been more than willing to help.
The debate about the redistricting process, also known as gerrymandering, has spread across the U.S. Democrats and their supporters believe Donald Trump will pressure Republicans in other states where they have a majority to use gerrymandering to keep the party in power. But Democrats are also fighting back. The party enjoys a majority in the state of California, and they are on track to pass their own redrawing there.
We divide less cities, less communities. We're more compact, but we also identify 5 seats held by Republicans that likely could be electing a Democrat if these maps were adopted.
What happens in Texas could have a major impact on national politics, as both Republicans and Democrats eye next year's midterm elections, and the fight over the U.S. House of Representatives. Republicans currently control the House by a mere 3 seats, and with redistricting in play, the fight is already on.
Well, I'm joined now by Wang. He's a professor at Princeton University's Gerrymandering Project. That's a nonpartisan effort aiming to eliminate partisan gerrymandering at the state level. Professor, it's good to have you with us. So let me ask you, why can't America take partisan politics out of the process of drawing voting district lines?
Well, the problem is that at the national level, our institutions have not stepped in. So the United States Supreme Court has declared that partisan gerrymandering is unconstitutional, but they've also said they're not going to do anything about it. Congress has also been quite partisan over the last few decades, and they won't do anything about it. And what that means is that, at least for the time being, it has to be handled at the state level. And as it so happens, Texas has no laws whatsoever governing congressional redistricting, and so they can do what we're seeing right now.
And as I understand it, every 10 years there's a national census in the United States, and based on those numbers, new district lines are drawn. It's now 2025. Is Texas late with this, or how does that work?
Every state redraws the lines every 10 years. It's because of a legal principle that districts have to be of equal population, and that's been the case since the early 1970s. So Texas did indeed draw a gerrymander redistrict in a couple of years ago, and it was a partisan gerrymander. The Gerrymandering Project scored it as an F, and what they're doing is they're going back for another bite of the apple and trying to do it again. Mid-decade redistricting is extremely rare in the United States. In the last 50 years, the only times that legislators have done it on purpose are Georgia in 2006 and Texas again, actually, about 22 years ago. Other than that, states have refrained from this practice. So it's a pretty unusual circumstance.
And now we're hearing threats coming from California. I mean, how concerned are you that we're going to just see a spiraling tit for tat? Republican states, Democratic states doing the same, trying to gain more seats in Washington?
Well, the Electoral Innovation Lab, which I direct, has undertaken a scientific examination of voter power and how it gets undermined. And I would say that in the last 50 years, the high watermark, the worst gerrymandering, was in 2012 when half a dozen states did it. In some ways, it's less bad than it used to be, but it's really prominent now because there's this desperate working to try to eke out just a few seats advantage. And so right now what we're seeing is this extra, in some ways, last gasp of a party that sees that next year might not be such a good year, and so they're trying to squeeze out a few seats in Texas, maybe also in Florida and Ohio, and so it's an extreme move by the Republican Party.
What was happening in 2012 that made the efforts to redraw lines and gerrymander so prevalent?
In 2012, over the last 30 years, partisanship in the United States has gotten much worse, with very little common ground between the parties. In 2010, Republicans gained control of at least half a dozen state legislatures, and they ended up with single-party control of redistricting. And so therefore, they got an advantage, a net advantage of up to 20 seats. Right now, because of independent commissions and also because of Democrats doing the same in other states, that advantage has gone down from 20 seats down to 4 seats. And so the advantage is much smaller. And as I said, because of independent commissions. And so what we're seeing here is trying to move back to the bad old days of 2012.
When we hear the word gerrymandering, we automatically think of politics in the United States. I'm wondering how much demand is there among Americans for the district drawing system to be completely revamped and for it to be done by independent bodies and not bipartisan, partisan bodies?
Well, the substantial majorities of Democrats, Republicans, and independents are all against gerrymandering. And so I would say that the Electoral Innovation Lab has done a 50-state study and found that independent citizen commissions do the best job. One good thing about what's happening over the last month is now that citizen attention is high on this, I don't know, optimistically one can imagine maybe there would be more citizen energy for what you say, which is to take the power away from politicians and give it to voters.
Professor Sam Wang with Princeton University. Fascinating discussion, Professor. We appreciate your time tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.